Winners never quit and quitters never win, and that's not right.
I just think people have this horrible misconception of quitting. So automatically quitting is bad. Quitting is bad. Quitting is bad. Quitting is not bad. Sometimes quitting is the absolute positive, right and correct thing to do.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Spark Based Podcast. I am Dr. Chris Sargent, and with me today is a quitter. I know, he even has it on his t-shirt, and y'all are like, Doc, that doesn't sound like anything that you would ever talk about. I know, but we found each other on social media, and y'all are in for a treat today. This man has been super successful, managed multiple restaurants and nightclubs, like razor sharp negotiator and eye for talent, super entrepreneurial. And y'all are like, okay, so why the quitter thing? Well, there's one thing about being super successful, and there's another thing about being happy. And he was not at all happy. He was actually kind of miserable. And so, he had to quit some things in order to be a different individual that he is now. So he was able to break free of some seriously destructive habits, which we talk about a lot on this podcast, right? About food and our hurry, busy lifestyle and those kind of things. And he was actually able to do that through his darkest moments. And really, he's now found and is on the other side of happiness. Welcome, Mr. Lloyd Banks. Thank you so much for your time, and your energy is amazing. So welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So excited.
I know. See, our energy is already feeding off each other. So, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. My voice and stuff is not fantastic, but we are going to do this thing and have fun. I think one of the things that really drew me to you was winners never quit and quitters never win, and that's not right. So go ahead. Let's just start right there. How is that such a lie? Let's talk about it.
I speak a lot. And so one of the things I say a lot is that, so much about everything that we're taught about success typically excludes quitting. But I turn around and then I'll tell you that I believe in order to succeed, you have to quit. But it's what and how you quit that matters here, because so many times in our life we're told to be resilient. And I believe in resiliency, and that's fantastic. Everyone should be resilient. And I'm not suggesting that people should go quit on their teams or quit their dreams, but sometimes your path to your dream may not be working. And so maybe don't quit on your dream, but quit that path to your dream. Find a new path. It's okay to swerve a little bit and go this way or that way or whichever direction you need to go. But saying that people should never quit, I think, is one of the most ridiculous things that I've had way too many fights about with way too many good people. But we've argued about it, and I will continue to argue it, because so many things in my life, if I had not quit them, I would have never got to where I wanted to be. Ever.
Agreed, 100%. And I'm with you on this resilience thing, because I do think that there's a segment of our population that doesn't have that resilience, and they need to stop quitting and they need to have, grow a spine. But that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about people like me, maybe, who just keep going even if things don't look great, and you just stay on the path even when it didn't look good.
Yeah. And that's the tough thing, is most of the time people either throw in the towel too early, and again, not being resilient. Like, hey, don't be that guy. Don't be the person that quits so easily, if it's something you really want. But then again, sometimes you might see that you're chasing the wrong thing. And rarely do I tell people to quit their jobs. I try to stay away from that, because it makes people not want to hire you as a speaker when they're afraid you're going to go tell all their employees to quit their job.
To quit.
But that's not what I tell people. Very rarely do I tell people, hey, you should quit your job. Although there are some people out there that probably need to quit their job, but don't quit before you have a backup plan, please. Like, just know that I didn't tell you to quit your job without a backup plan. So, but yeah, I just think people have have this horrible misconception of quitting. So automatically quitting is bad. Quitting is bad. Quitting is bad. Quitting is not bad. Sometimes quitting is the absolute positive, right and correct thing to do.
So really it speaks into our relationship with failure,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I know when I've had to quit things, it's felt very much
Yeah.
like a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I look at it like so when I started writing this keynote address that I do, I was working with a writing coach. And so I started just write. I'm not a writer, so I just start scribbling is basically what I do and start telling stories. And something that I would have never seen, she said, you know what I noticed, Lloyd, is that I noticed that a lot of these stories seem to be you doing this or going this way or doing, going down this path, and then you quit doing that, and that led to all this success, or that led to more happiness, or that led to something that was positive. And so she said, do you think maybe you should turn this whole idea of what you're writing right now and just turn it into a quitting story? And I was like, huh. And so giant light bulbs kept going off in my head. I was like, okay. And so now I'm the guy who walks around wearing shirts that say quitter and talks about quitting all the time and gets to argue with people constantly about why quitting is good.
I absolutely love that. And this is to y'all, my audience, like this is what I love, is to find this left turn and a whole different way of looking at what we actually need to do for ourselves as a good thing, right? As a good thing, instead of like, what am I missing if I don't keep doing this? Or like if we talk about food, or we talk about some of our unhealthy behaviors, whether it's smoking or drinking too much, or any of the like not exercising, like we need to quit not exercising. um,
Amen.
um, when we when we look at those things, we feel like we might miss out on something. So how do we traverse this FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, of like, oh, well, if I quit drinking, then I can't go out with my friends, or if I stop eating all these things, like it's they uh, like categorically everything is a tragedy then.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Like, no, you're so right.
I'm never gonna eat pizza again if I go
Yeah.
gluten
Eat
free.
pizza.
Well,
Just don't eat it every day, not for breakfast. It's, like, cold pizza for breakfast is lovely, but don't do it all the time,
yeah,
don't
right.
do it all the time. But yeah, you're right. I mean, all those things you just talked about. I mean, I've had horrible relationships with food. Sometimes I'm still guilty of it. I have an 11-year-old who likes what 11-year-olds like. And guess what? When she's like, Dad, can we go to Whataburger or can we go here? And I'm like, yeah, we can. So I've
You're
had that
right on
horrible
it.
relationship. When when my wife and I got pregnant at 40, we're like, oh my God, what is happening here? And it was a big aha moment, like, hey, dude, you need to get off the couch and get your butt back in shape. And so guess what? I had to quit the sedentary lifestyle that I'd been enjoying. Like, don't get me wrong, I would go work, 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 work. But when I got home, planted on the couch, not moving, ordering pizza, just whatever. So bad relationship with food, bad relationship with taking care of myself. Having a kid at age 40 made me like wake up and go, okay, must take better care of myself. Would like to walk my daughters down the aisle one day. Would be great.
Yes, I love that. And I think that finding that bigger why, like the Simon Sinek, right? Of why are you quitting? Why did you quit your nightclubs? Why did you quit all that stuff? Because you were super successful. I mean,
I, I had fantastic, wonderful success. I had many of great times and great moments, but 25, so I'll backtrack just slightly. So I owned mostly a lot of nightclubs and bars, occasional restaurant here or there. And then I decided I'm too old to own nightclubs anymore, and I don't like staying awake till 4 in the morning, and it's hard, and yeah, it's just whatever. So I'm so brilliant that I decided I would sell all the bars and nightclubs, and I would open another full service restaurant.
because that would be so much easier.
I thought like, oh, I'm supposed to get smarter with age, right? And apparently I'm gone the opposite way and I'm getting dumber. So I opened a full service restaurant, and for the last 4 years, I sold it about a year ago, and I owned it for 4 years. And those 4 years probably sucked about 40 years off my life. I thought, it was just
Well, y'all, he owned a restaurant through the pandemic.
through COVID. I mean, it was brutal through COVID, through diagnosis with MS that I also got right in the middle of COVID. Like it was just, and you know what? Take COVID out, take the diagnosis out, still would have been equally as awful. I just can't recommend enough not owning a restaurant.
So some of those quits are good. I mean, most of my some of my audience will know that I quit a big practice back in 2017. I had a full 15 employees, and we had a full service, basically an alternative med spa in the western suburbs of Chicago. And I pretty much closed the doors, walked away, and really am so much happier for doing that.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of guilt, and there was a lot of, I think there's a process that you go through when you quit stuff like that.
sure. I tell people all the time that every day since I sold the last restaurant has been a better day. I mean, the last year I've spent so much time at home, probably more time at home in the last year than I have in the last 10 years combined.
Right.
I've spent more time with my family. I don't miss my kids' events ever, period. I just present. And
Yeah.
I've never been happier. I went from so it's been almost exactly a year since I sold that restaurant. And a year ago, I can't tell you how horribly miserable I was to today, when I don't believe that I've ever been happier or more excited about the second half. Like, I mean, I'm super thankful. Like, I'm super blessed. Like, I mean, people say it all the time, like I'm blessed, but I'm blessed. Like, I'm overly thankful, and thank God so many times a day for absolutely gifting me this life that he's given me.
So it's interesting because you had two pretty big things happen during over the last few years. Y'all, we can talk about your health challenges, I assume.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so y'all, he was diagnosed with MS. So if you don't know what MS is, it's a myelination problem in the brain. Your myelin is the fat on your brain, and it gets plaques on there, and it's kind of a mess. It makes your brain not work right, and you get all kind of weird symptoms. And but it's not. I mean, it's common, but it's more common now than it's ever been. I think for a lot of reasons, but that we're not here to go into. Um, so tell us a little bit about your health journey, because you had to quit some things there too.
I did. So I work out. I do this really kind of crazy thing called Camp Gladiator, which I love. I recommend to anyone and everyone. But I was doing Camp Gladiator, and here we are in the middle of COVID. You own a restaurant, so really all I was doing was basically I was a delivery driver. It's really all I was doing was sitting around my restaurant with no people in it except some cooks in the back and somebody answering a phone so that Lloyd could go speed around like Batman and deliver food because there was nobody else on the road. Um, so yeah, one day I decided to go work out, just trying to keep my life as normal as it could possibly be at that time, and I just started having these funky feelings, and like my feet were numb, and I fell down a couple of times. Numbness shot up my leg, and I was like, "What is going on?" I thought, oh, I must have a pinched nerve in my back or just something random. Went and did massages and acupuncture, tried all this stuff, thought it was fine. It just kept getting worse. So one night I'm laying in bed and I tell my wife, like, my feet are numb. And she, says, you should probably go see a doctor. And I said, you're probably right. And because she is usually always right. And so I did. I go see the
You
doctor
heard that.
since, right. Yeah, it's true. I can't hide it. And you know, I go see a doctor, go to a neurologist, do all these tests, spinal tap, all kinds of horrible stuff. And yeah, eventually he tells me, hey, Mr. Banks, you have multiple sclerosis. And I lost it. I mean, I remember I left the office, but I was just I don't even know. Like, I sat in my car and just cried for a while because I didn't know what else to do. And I was so ripped apart. Like, what does that even mean? And so, yeah, you know, but what I quickly realized after a little bit of research was like, one, I got to stop eating the way that I have for 40 plus years. I can't eat like an 11-year-old. I need to do better. So I started doing this thing called the best bet diet, which I also refer to as the oh my God, this sucks diet, because it's the no fun diet. I mean, I've got a lot of names for this diet, but I knew it was the right thing, and so I started eating totally different, and that helped greatly. And so it changed a lot of things about the way I live, and again, yeah, like you said, I had to quit the food relationship that I'd had for years. I had to also figure out how to maintain the exercise because that was important, but harder to do when you have numbness rolling through your feet. So, and then I made a really crazy decision, and I don't know if you want to get into that one, but I made this decision that, well, I didn't think it was crazy. I did a lot of homework, a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, but I decided to go to a foreign country to get treatment.
I'm totally fine with that. I think that our and I have no animosity. I want to make that really clear. I have no animosity towards our medical system. Our medical doctors here do the best job that they are trained to do. They're just not really they're great in an acute situation, right? They're really good if you got blood spurting out somewhere, or you're falling over and your face is like all messed up, like you're
Yep.
having a stroke. You
Yeah.
can't feel your chest anymore because there's an elephant on it. Like, don't call me, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's when they are amazing. They're amazing when you can't breathe and you've got some kind of infection. Go. Chronic diseases like autoimmune disorders, MS, rheumatoid, lupus, some of these diseases can be halted and put in remission. We have to be careful with the word cure, um,
Okay.
by alternative means. And so that's what I hear you saying, is that you found an alternative method in another country, which was Mexico. Oh, not a bad place to go. Um, where they had you doing all kinds of things, including some stem cell stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I like to tell people that yes, I decided I would go to Mexico, but not the beer and tequila Mexico. It wasn't that one. So I went and did a treatment called HSCT, um, hematopoietic stem cell transplant. And they
Yeah.
do it a lot. They do it a lot in the US, even more and more and more now. Like, it was all in trials and whatnot, and it's still technically trials. And I like to joke, and you're kinder about it than I am. So I say that, like, why would we want to heal anybody? We make too much money off all these patients, but I digress. And so, yeah, they told me they wanted to put me on these drugs that were going to cost $8,000 to $10,000 a month, and it did not. And with with a I joke in my keynote about the list of side effects, and it was just like this oh my god list, like what, why would I ever want to take these drugs, and wait, they cost how much? And so it didn't take me long to go do this homework, do this research. My wife actually found it on Facebook, and so we started digging in, doing our homework, and talking to people. And I made a lot of phone calls, and I talked to people that had had it, and friends of friends, and all this kind of stuff. And I couldn't get anyone to tell me one thing bad about it, or why it wasn't a great idea. So I spent 28 days in Puebla, Mexico, which is up in the mountains with a great view over this active volcano that poofs out
Oh,
smoke every morning. I mean, it wasn't a
cool.
horrible place to be, other than the fact that it was during COVID. So we didn't get to really leave or do anything, and that kind of stunk. But you know what? Good views, and met some great people, but yeah, it's our version of it was chemotherapy and stem cell transplant. So, I lost everything that I used to try to cover up any of the ugliness here. I lost all this. I lost all this. Like, I try to cover as much as I can and use good lighting. And so, but
You're funny.
it was tough. It was not an easy treatment, but it's possibly the smartest thing that I've ever done in my life, because just over 3 years now since then, since I had the treatment, and I've honestly never felt better. I feel like I'm in possibly the greatest shape of my life at age 52. Like, it was a lot. The neurologist that I was going to would not even respond to me when I told him what I was going to do. I asked him his thoughts, and he sent me a one-word response, and it said, "Noted." Well, thanks, Doc.
Wow.
Appreciate the feedback, sir. So anyway, thrilled I did it. I preach about it all the time. I tell people I've been somewhat responsible for sending a handful of other people there that have reached out to me, and friends of friends and things like that. So yeah, I believe in it. I love it. I'm glad I did it, and better for it.
That's amazing. Thank you. And you probably just helped a whole bunch of people here too. But that also did require you to quit some things.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, man, what the list is long with things that I had to quit about that time. But yeah, I mean, you know, I had to quit one of my favorite things, which was beer. I love beer. I mean, I really like beer, but along with that diet I was telling you about, there was no gluten, there was no, and I was like, what do you mean no beer? Like, I'm not saying I need 20 of them, but one, no, okay. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things, and so it was a tough decision. I'll never forget. I have a picture of me and my family at the airport. I'll probably cry telling the story. We were at the airport as we were, and so by the way, I should not forget this fun fact that my oldest daughter went with me as my caretaker. So she quit her
Oh,
job and left, basically uprooted her life to go spend 28 days with me in Puebla, Mexico, and basically sit in a
wow.
room. And
That's
yeah, I
so
mean,
cool.
just another unbelievably unselfish and crazy act of kindness that I was shown during that time period, fundraising, all this. It was just incredible. But yeah, so I have this picture of us at the airport, and I just decided to take a selfie, and it was early in the morning. And I took that picture, and I've talked about it since then. But I said, here's a picture of a guy with a smile on his face, trying to show a brave face, but inside I was terrified, absolutely terrified of what, like, am I coming home from this thing? What's going to happen? Like, is this the dumbest idea I've ever had in my life? And I've had a lot of dumb ideas. Is this the worst one? And so now I look at that picture, and it has a totally different meaning to me now, for sure.
Oh, see, so that's the other side of quitting. Quitting requires courage.
So I think one thing people with quitting, they think, a lot of people see quitting and they see all the big things you need to quit. Maybe it is alcohol or drugs or some horrific toxic relationship, or it's all these
Gluten.
big things. Yeah, gluten. God, oh my God, gluten's so good. Um, but yeah, but I don't think it's like that for most people. Yeah, a lot of people have some big things they need to quit, but I think more people have a whole bunch of little things they need to quit. And
Say
so,
more.
yeah, so earlier this year, I have a team that helps me with some of my social media because I'm too old to figure all that out. And so,
Hey now.
yeah, well, I'm just realistic. I'm just like, hey, I don't know how to. I
Kidding. I'm kidding. Go
I can
ahead.
record the video. I just don't know how to post it. So,
People have lots of little things to quit. I love this line. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So they challenged me. They said, hey, what if we did a 30 days of quitting? I said, yeah, that's a great idea. And I said, well, look, I need to lead the way on this. I can't just tell people to keep quitting stuff. It's got to start with me. So it was a big challenge to myself. Like, all right, I'm going to do something. I'm going to quit something for 30 days. So I posted a video every day of what I was quitting that day. And I'm not going to lie, it got pretty hard
I
because
was gonna say 30 things. That's a lot of things to
it's a
quit.
lot. So I ended up having to throw a few little bobs and weaves in there that were just kind of like a comical thing here or a comical thing there. But I came up with, I think it was a good 20 plus solid ones that were really good for me. Like I started with some really important ones to me, which was, things like not picking up my phone first thing in the morning. So I started this thing that I've been doing ever since, and I'll tell you, this is probably my favorite one. And so I do not pick my phone up in the morning. The first thing I do is I wake up and I go get ready, and then I usually go make breakfast for my kid and get her up and stuff. But the first thing I do is I go spend a few minutes by myself, and I usually pray, and I just have a little bit of talk with myself, maybe meditate a little bit. And by the way, when I say meditate, there's some people that are really good at meditating and they have like this whole thing. I don't. It's more to me just close my eyes and be a little bit of thoughtfulness and just kind of think about what can I do today. Um, and I say a lot of the same prayer every morning is the first thing, and thank you for letting me wake up again and have another go at this. And so, and then I won't even look at my phone for a minimum of 30 minutes, a minimum. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but
That's a big deal for a lot of people.
those 30 minutes are the most important 30 minutes of my day because it sets me off on the correct path every day. It's a
Okay, I'm
huge.
convinced. I will wait to look at my sleep app for 30 minutes before.
I'm telling you, it will totally change because the
It's
biggest
so
problem.
addictive.
Yeah, I also quit watching the news, which is, look, hey, I'm not gonna lie. If you told me, hey, Lloyd, did you know that such and such happened in whatever the other day? I don't. And I'm not suggesting that people put their head in the sand and don't know what's going on, but
I don't
boy,
watch
it
the
worked
news.
out really well because I used to wake up and watch the news in the morning, and I was like, oh my God, there's war and there's hurricanes and there's this and there's that and there's death and hate and awfulness. And I was like, so this is how I'm starting my day every day? No, not doing it anymore. And so that and just cutting back on social media as a whole and stop scrolling for hours and all it just so I say all that to say these all these little things that I did over the course of those 30 days have meant have been an absolute game changer for me. I
The,
mean, it's crazy.
I
It's
mean,
crazy.
mic drop.
Yeah.
Seriously. That is it, y'all. That is it. It is finding those pockets of time that we waste so mindlessly. We only get those minutes one time.
Yep.
And like I said, my newest thing that I haven't quit that I started is really paying attention to sleep this year. It's been something that I think it started way back in professional school where, we'll sleep when we're dead and we just keep studying and all the things. But this year is my year and I've been better over time, but this year I was like, I am going to sleep. So I found a sleep app
Nice.
that goes to my watch. And so every morning I'm like, okay, how did I do? Right? I have to get my score.
Right. Yes.
Now that determines my ego for the day, right? Now, come on, it's as bad as a
Yeah.
scale.
Right.
So with that,
It'll wait. It'll wait 30
it
minutes,
it will
30
wait
minutes.
for a really long time.
Yeah.
That your phone just does not need to be part of your day. It never was. I mean, okay, you're 52, I'm 59. We didn't have a phone.
Right. Life was better.
It was so much better.
Yeah. We just went and rode bikes. I mean, we all joke about this, but I mean, my God, we rode our bikes miles away from our house, miles away with only one rule, just be back before the light comes on outside. That's it.
Yeah,
The only rule.
exactly. So it is quitting these little things to allow time for something else. And I think that that's, I'm going to walk into that quote right now. Like quitting is making room for something better. Like you said, now you spend you, you're not you're present with your daughter, right? She
Absolutely.
doesn't just have your presence,
Yeah.
right?
No, I mean, I'm
You
here.
may be in the room, but your presence is with the television, right? It's
Yeah.
with the news.
Yep.
Now you are present with her. You're making her breakfast. You're taking her to school. Like she gets her dad, and
Yeah.
that's so important for us as parents to really be present. So quitting little things can allow you to be a better parent.
I I I'm not sure that you can be a good parent unless you quit a bunch of the little things you're doing. And you can lie to yourself all you want, but
Tell it.
there's some things you just gotta like and don't think that like, what, maybe I'll just do a little less of that. No, just just be done with it. You know what I mean? Like just be done with it and good. And you know what? You're right. There's some things that maybe you should just step back on, but do yourself a favor, quit it altogether. And if you find that, hey, maybe down the road there's some chances that, okay, you know what, a little bit of that is okay, fine, fine. But just don't let it, again, like the social media scrolling is one of the big ones, like I
It's
I
deadly.
I get really sad when I go to a restaurant with my family and you look over at a table of a family and nobody's talking because they're all doing. And my like, why don't you guys just text each other too, see what's going on? Like, just, hey, you're right across the way. Hey, are you enjoying your French fries? Like, I mean, just talk about it, like I don't know. I I'm a very incredibly simple person, and I like being that way. And like they always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Well, I never feel like I'm in the wrong room. I'm never the smartest person in that room.
I
But I
think this
just
is
think,
pretty brilliant,
well,
actually.
I just think life is simple, man. I think if you have your priorities and you have your priorities in line, then you're not going to do things like that. You're not going to spend time at the dinner table on your phone, and whatever.
Seriously.
Some families have
So
really
yeah,
strict
so
rules.
let's make way for better things.
Yeah, for sure. Like, because
Let's
there's
make
better
way for
things out
better
there.
things.
Yeah,
Yes, you may also in making way for better things, you made room to re-explore your faith.
absolutely. So
So
I love,
quitting allowed him
whew,
to
yeah,
re-explore a faith that he'd been missing for a really long time, y'all.
yeah. Again, it came with being pregnant at 40. We looked at it. So
I did that too, by the way.
yeah, so we have
That's
two
when I had my
daughters.
kids.
I like to explain that I screwed this thing up from the start, and it's all my fault. But we have two daughters. We have a 27-year-old and an 11-year-old. It was one of those like, hey, we thought we were done, and then hey, God said, guess what? Not quite done yet. And so, again, just like getting in shape and all that kind of stuff, we talked about. We said, we did an incredible disservice to our older daughter because although my wife and I both have faith and have always been believers, but we weren't going to church and we weren't talking about it and things like that. And I think we did her an incredible disservice that I will kick myself forever for. But we were like, you know what? We're not doing that with this one. Let's do better. Let's do better for ourselves so we can do better for her. And so we went and we found this amazing church. We had plans to go see two or three different churches. We went to one and fell in love and never went to another one and have been there ever since. And yeah, not just a very short time later, I got baptized, and I talk about it all the time how I have the greatest spiritual relationship I've ever had in my life. And I was raised, I'm from Texas, and I was raised in Southern Baptist Church, and we went to church every weekend, and we got in our Sunday best, and I was a believer. And, I loved our preacher back then, and he's up there slamming his head, and it's fire and brimstone, telling us the stories, and it was great back then. But it just, I don't know. I guess it didn't resonate enough with me as a child, and so yeah. So years later, I reconnected my faith, and I think it's just been so much better for me, my family, and just part of the reason that I'm as happy and as fulfilled as I am now.
Oh, I totally agree with you, and most of my listeners know my story that I walked away from the church for 7 years right after my divorce, and I turned around and let him catch me in 2019 again, and it's been an amazing ride since then.
Yeah, I love it.
So,
Like I said, so I'm a speaker, and so I love it that I talk about faith, not a ton in my talk, but I do. I talk about it more times, a few times, and almost every time at the end, I will have more people come up to me and tell me, thank you for sharing your story about your faith. Thank you for talking about Jesus in your talk. Thank you for not being afraid to talk about Jesus and talk about God in your talk, and so it's funny, out of everything that I'm trying to drop all this amazing wisdom that I have on them about quitting, and really they're just like, hey, I'm happy to see you unafraid to talk about your faith. And I love that. I'm like, great. I've asked people that I was going to speak for, is it okay to talk about my faith? And thank goodness nobody has said, no, 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 you can't talk about that, because if they said that, they're going to be real mad at me, because an hour later I'm going to have talked about my
I'm
faith, and they
dropping
may,
about it. I'm dropping
yeah,
it anyway.
yeah, you can be mad at me later, but I've always been a bit of a rebel. So we're going there, and you can, whatever. You can rip up the check, I guess.
Well, you know what? You've been a rebel, right? You did. You own nightclubs. Not everybody can do that. That takes a special personality. And now you're talking about quitting from such a good place. I just love this conversation so, 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 so much. The other thing that you say is not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear the path.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like right now the whole world is in a storm,
Oh my gosh, right?
right? Like there's very little peace. We have to find our own peace, just like you find your peace every morning and your half an hour ritual. I definitely have Bible and prayer time every single day. I have to have that peace to start my day right after I check my sleep app. Um, so but I think a lot of people are really feeling the storm and really don't know what to do, right? And they don't know how to interpret it for their own life. And, I'm going to throw faith out there as one place that they could certainly find some mm, like peace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, but also to see it as a way or as a sign that it is time to quit something or change or shift something. And in that shift, we have to let things go. John Maxwell says you have to give up to go up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know, I I get into it with people about this, like, the whole I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if,
Oh, yes.
that kind of stuff. Like, and guilty, man, so guilty of it for so many years. And now you get to a point, and again, with all these horrific things that happen in our world every day, like, why do you even, I don't know, this will be dark. I don't mean to be, but
No, go ahead.
why do you think that you're even going to be here tomorrow? What if you're not? Like, do you want to say that, guess what, my last day, what did you spend doing on your last day? Oh, well, that seems really sad, Like, so look, I get it. Every day is not going to be a wild party. You're not going to go, woohoo, but you can make the most of every day. Like, what can you do to that day to, I say it a lot now, like, I spent most of my life being incredibly selfish. And so now I try every day to see, like, what can I do that's selfless? What can I do that's useful for others? How can I, you know,
Serve.
give back? How can I make an impact on others and help them maybe steer away from so many of the thousands of mistakes that I've made in my life? How can I help others? So again, and again, I don't, yeah, not all storms come to disrupt your life. I mean, so many stories I have on that one, but one of them that it really comes to mind is like, I I quit tennis, the sport that I loved my whole life, out of just complete pride and arrogance. But if I hadn't quit tennis, I wouldn't have discovered, and I know this will sound, a little bit silly, but I wouldn't have discovered the fraternity I joined in college. And that sounds crazy, like, oh,
No, but that's
what do you,
important for social skills and all of the things that moved you forward.
I found this beautiful fraternity and really was my total introduction into entrepreneurship and small business, which I spent 25 years chasing, and technically it's still doing it, still owning my speaking business and what I do. But again, had I not quit tennis, I would have never found that. And I don't quite frankly don't know what I would be doing now. I'd probably have a cute little hat on, and I might be really good at doing this, or like, hey, you got it, so
Oh,
so
I seriously doubt that you're way too talented for that. I think that's interesting. But I think to your point of, oh, well, when I have my $20,000 in the bank or whatever number, pick a number, right?
yeah.
Then I'll be able to do XYZ. Then I will be what I want to be. And this have, do, be sequence is so ingrained in our society, and yet it's completely backwards because we have to become. That means quitting some things, taking on some new things. We have to become a whole new person if we want something new in our life.
And just
That's
I,
what you
I
did.
well, and I challenge myself every day, and like, look, again, I talk about quitting, and people are like, man, you make it sound like it's easy. No way, dude. It's hard. Everything is hard. Like, I don't care whether it's quitting eating candy or quitting, uh, I don't know. I've never done it, but quitting black tar heroin. I'm sure they're there's some differences there, but they're both hard. So don't get me wrong, quitting is not easy, but is it worth it? It's worth it. And I just think the whole I'll be happy when, whatever. Like, I challenge myself. Part of my morning ritual is challenge myself every day to like, what joy am I going to find today? And it doesn't have to be big stuff. It doesn't always have to be huge. But guess what? I know that it's 6:17 in the morning, Monday through Friday. I'm gonna look up the stairs and I'm gonna see my 11-year-old come down the stairs. And guess what? Some days that may be it, but boy, there's my joy walking right down the stairs.
Oh,
And guess what? I need no more than that. If that's all I'm getting today, cool. I am okay with
that
that.
sets
But
our day so good, our kids,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even when they text you from the bedroom.
Can you bring me some sandwiches? Yeah,
I know. I don't
yeah,
feel good.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so one of the questions that I often ask my clients is a very similar question to what you ask your clients, and that is, what does your life look like um, if you quit XYZ, right? If you quit gluten, if you quit alcohol, if you quit whatever the things are that we know you need to quit, versus if you don't quit it in 5 years, what's your life going to look like? And
Yeah,
I've quit saying in a year because it doesn't like meh, right?
yeah,
What's it look like 5 years? What's it look like 10 years? What does it look like 20 years?
yeah.
In our health, what we do now, whether you're 50 or 60 or 40, what you do now determines how you're going to be in 20 years.
Yeah.
So if you start eating sugar and become a diabetic today, in 20 years, that's when you're going to feel that.
Assuming you're still here, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I love this question. Tell me a little bit more about like how you go about helping your coaching clients to quit stuff.
So I usually start really simple. I mean, really simple because again, I'm a simple guy, but I'll usually just ask them, hey, are you happy? And most people, if you ask them, are they happy? Most people will tell you, yeah, I'm happy. But then you dig in a little bit more, like, great, what makes you happy? Be specific. Okay. Let me ask you another question. What makes you unhappy? What steals your joy? What steals your juice? Like what happens every day at the office, at your house, wherever you might be, in your car, whatever, that just sucks your soul and it just makes it irritating, frustrating, whatever, every day, And so then kind of we keep, we get some answers and real specifics, and I take lots of notes so I can remind them of what they told me, because sometimes they'll go, I didn't say that. Oh, yes, you did. So then just keep marching down that path, and then we start trying to figure out and be specific of, well, what do you think you need to quit? Like, again, let's we can talk big things, small things, whatever. And most people are pretty clear on things that they need to quit. Very rarely do I have to
It's
really
true.
pull it out of people. Most of the time they're really aware of what they need to quit. Their problem is they don't know how, or they don't see it. And so, yeah, you're right. I ask them a lot of those questions, like, answer me this, like, tell me what your life looks like if you quit that today, quit it today, and you never did it, had it, whatever it was today. Tell me what your life looks like, smells like, tastes like, whatever it is, in 6 months. Tell me about a year. Tell me about 5 years, and get really specific. Like, I want to know, like, oh, where, oh, you're on a beach. Great. Tell me what it looks like. Tell me what's in. Do you have a drink in your hand? Or you got your toes in the sand? Tell me what it smells like. What are you eating? Like, tell me all about it. Who's there with you? And then, great, they tell you all the good stuff. Oh man, that, it's easy to dream. It's easy to dream, like, these great things. Okay, great. Now let's reverse that. Like, tell me, if you don't quit that, what does life look like in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years? And same thing, I want specific. Like, tell me, like, give me the ugliness. And then it's not hard once they get it there and they actually see it and smell it and taste it and go, oh my God, I can't, I can't, I can't wake up 5 years from now and be in that space. I can't. And then you start talking about, great. So let's figure out how we're starting today to fix these things, how we're going to quit these things. And we're going to take it slow, and we're going to celebrate all the wins, no matter how small they are. I don't care if it's 2 hours without it, 2 days without it, 2 weeks. We're celebrating all the wins, all of them.
Yes.
And then eventually, you know what? You're going to get down the road a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you're going to realize, like, hey, you know what? I've quit. I've quit this and I've quit that. And now you also have a roadmap on not just that thing, but hopefully the other things in your life that you also need to quit. You've got a roadmap on, so you don't have to call me again. You can if you want, please, but you don't have to. Now you've got a game plan, you've got a roadmap. Now just go quit the rest of those things. Just
Oh my
find
gosh.
that joy. Find
Y'all,
that joy every
there you
day.
go.
Find the joy every day, man. Life is great. Life
It
is
is
great. I don't know
so
how bad
good.
it hurts today, but man, life is great and it can be great. And that's from a
That is
guy who was incredibly miserable 1 year ago.
that's so good. But your journey, and this is a place where I want to make sure that people understand,
Yeah.
because I think we go from Apple startup in, in the basement or in the garage to a multi-billion dollar company. And we
No doubt.
forget that there's a messy middle, right?
Completely.
So there was, and we touched on some things that were in your messy middle. So I just want to remind everybody, like, this didn't just happen overnight. You
Right.
also went through some relationship things with your wife that we don't
Absolutely.
have to get into here, but y'all, they got into it and then fixed it and then almost got into it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just understand that him quitting some things saved his marriage, and her quitting some things saved their marriage.
Yeah.
So this quitting thing is a big deal. And I think there is, and I want to touch on one more thing. It's this pride thing, right? We have a lot of people, including myself, get stuck in this place of needing to be right. And you've been on this train for so long, and you've been resilient, and you've made excuses for why you keep going. But then when you realize, like, no, 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 I really do. But all those people are like, but I thought you said.
I'd love to
And
tell
you
you. Yeah.
just have to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That ego just needs to get out of the way. You could feel that, couldn't you?
Oh my gosh. Like you're talking like a few years ago, there's no way my head would have fit on this little screen because my ego was so ridiculous. Like I don't know who I thought I was, but I thought I was really super special. And it's funny now, like I say it somewhat joking, but also very true. Like my wife is usually right. And I think about all the ridiculous like arguments that we've had over the years, mostly because I was always right and had to be right. And now it's funny. Now I catch myself, and don't get me wrong, not perfect, but now I
Oh,
catch myself. I say something, and I just before the last word gets out of my mouth, I go, you know what? I'd like to rewind that because that was stupid, and I'm wrong. And whatever. Let's start over. So like, but again, took a lot. Still not perfect, but trying to improve. Progress over perfection. Trying to improve a little bit every day and get better. But it's hard, man. Like I get it. Quitting's hard. It's hard, but it's worth it. So
yes.
worth it.
We so have to put our egos away and take the mask off of how it's supposed to look.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
take it off. Your friends are going to be your friends if they're supposed to be your friends. Your
yep,
wife is, or your husband, or your kids, like, they're all going to come around and realize that you're actually just a human.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I giggling now. You're making me think of things that make me giggle, like about my former self and my former ego and all the things that I just like. No, no, that can't be right. That's not what I think, so it can't be right. How could it possibly be right? It's not what I said. Not what I said. It's not what I did. Just come on, man. Like it's okay to be wrong. In fact, man, I've been wrong more times than not by I don't even know. Like I don't know if there's 1,000 decisions to be made. I've probably made 996 of them incorrectly. But luckily, I made four correct ones that have outweighed all those other horrible ones, and here I am today, and I'm thrilled at life. I'm thrilled at the fact that my job now is to help other people. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Like I never thought I'd be here at this age, like doing what I'm doing and being able to say, hey, you know, Lloyd Banks, why are you an expert on this? Mostly I'm an expert because I have screwed it all up so many times. Like I can tell you a lot. Yes, I can tell you a lot of what to do, but boy, I can tell you a whole lot of what not to do.
I love that. I love that. Well, I really believe wholeheartedly that God puts people in our path who we used to be, right? So the people that you help, the people that I help are is who I used to be, and I'm here in a different space with a different headspace. You're here in a different space with a different headspace, so that I see you, right? I see you as an audience. You see them as your clients because you used to be them.
Yep. And
Yeah,
I heard something this weekend. I was at this speaker boot camp thing, and I heard something that's great. And I'll screw up the way it was worded. It was worded very eloquently, and that's rarely me. But they said, you know what? When someone opens a door that helps you, how many people can you turn around and drag through that door with you? You know?
absolutely.
And I mean, my gosh, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be a little farther along than the next person, you know, behind you. And so,
One
man,
couple steps ahead. That's it.
just pull those people along, man. It's not hard. And I think everybody should try every day to be useful, you know, be
Oh,
useful.
be kind and be useful.
Yeah, not difficult. These are
Have a
very
little
simple things
empathy.
to do. Yeah, very simple things to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything we know that you're speaking? I mean, I'm a speaker too, so we're on this track together. It's such a fun, exhilarating place to be. Is there anything that you'd like to leave everybody to remember you by?
You know, I like to always tell people that if I can ever help you, please never hesitate to reach out. And my email address is lloyd@lloydspeaks.com. That's two L's because I don't know why, but it is. So yeah, please reach out if I can help. And then, you know, again, like the line that I always end every time I talk with is, you know, quit all those things that don't matter so that you can live a life that truly does. And I
Oh,
believe that wholeheartedly. And I say it 40 times a day to 40 different people. And I just hope and pray that I can help more people every day quit all those things that don't matter.
oh, I love that. I could not have said that better. Okay, y'all. He also has a freebie for you. I will put the link in the show notes below. Whether you're listening or if you're watching on YouTube, either way, you will find that link in the show notes to help walk you through some of the beginning steps of quitting stuff. It's a beautiful document. It makes so much sense. I wish I had thought of it. It's wonderful. It's a great way to walk yourself through at least the beginning steps, and then reach out to Lloyd if you need some help quitting some things because he's clearly really good at it. So thank you so much for your time and your
Thank you.
energy. This has just been so, so, so much fun. So thank you.